जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिधर धारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। 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 यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। भगवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णे स्वधामोपगते धर्मज्ञानादिभिः सह कलौ नष्टतृषामेष पुराणार्को धुनोदितः। Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Today being Sri Krishna Janmastami, I thought we can read from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. And generally we read the birth of Lord Krishna, but the celebration of Janmashtami is actually described several chapters later in chapter 5. And considering that we're all busy with Vyas Puja the day after Janmashtami, when his birthday is actually celebrated, we usually don't celebrate that so much. Nandotsav is not a big deal in ISKCON. It's eclipsed, you can say, by Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja. So that's also relevant to these readings from this passage. But just for the purpose of providing some context, Srila Sanatana Goswami has written a book called Dashamacharita, or Sri Krishna Lilastava, in which he summarizes all the pastimes of the 10th canto. And so we can quickly go through his depiction of Krishna's birth. This is a new book put out by the BBT, very wonderful book, translated and commentary by Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu, senior editor for the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Very, very nice, wonderful book. So here I'll begin reading with the description of Krishna's birth. He says, responding to the earth's painful laments, Brahma and the other demigods went to the ocean of milk and worshipped you. This is addressing Krishna. Brahma heard your instructions in his meditation and then encouraged Mother Earth and the demigods by relaying those instructions to them. You very much favor Sri Mathura, the great capital of King Shurasen, where the wedding celebration of Devaki and Vasudeva were performed only for the sake of you. By a voice in the sky, you incited the wicked behavior of Kamsa, who had taken up the reins of the horses, and by the words and logic of Vasudeva, you saved Devaki's life. You freed the son brought before Kamsa by the truthful Vasudeva. But through Devarshi Narad, you informed Kamsa of your future deeds. Please protect me. You made Kamsa, that terrible foe, shackle many of his family, Vasudeva and more, and murder the 6 infants, your elder brothers, born from the womb of Devaki. The demoniac armed forces of Kamsa terrified your Yadava clan. O knower of the distress of the Yadus, your plenary expansion then appeared as the 7th child in Devaki's womb. You had Yogamaya make this arrangement, inspiring Yogamaya by telling her you would become Devaki's son. You had her make your plenary expansion the son of Rohini. O beloved of that son of Rohini, please protect me. You shone with potency in the body, within the body of Vasudeva, entered Devaki's womb as her 8th child, and imparted to your mother's body a luminous effulgence that frightened and disheartened Kamsa. You lived always in Kamsa's mind, and Brahma, Rudra, and other demigods offered you prayers, O embodiment of truth, Lord of the universe, who appear in forms of pure goodness. You give yourself and all that is yours to your devotees alone. It is from your body that everyone achieves all goals. You enter the hearts of those who take shelter of your beauty and your names. And just by your birth, you relieve the earth of her travail. O Lord, whose lotus feet are the ornament of the earth and heaven, you have taken birth just to enjoy your pastimes. Victory to you, remover of the earth's burden, who had the demigods console your mother. You were born in the dark fortnight of Bhadra, on the 8th day, under the lunar mansion of Prajapati. You thus expanded the good fortune of the earth and brought satisfaction to the hearts of the saintly. O son of Vasudev's beloved wife, when you appeared in the middle of the night, you thrilled the minds of the great sages and fully satisfied all the demigods. O precious jewel of Devaki's womb, dear younger brother of Balabhadra, elder brother of Gada and Subhadra, please, quickly be satisfied with me. Please protect me. O wondrous child, displaying your radiant form of Godhead, destroying the prison's darkness, O ornament of the delivery chamber, please protect me. I offer my obeisances unto you. I offer my respects to you, who receive the prayers of Vasudeva. Though your personal form is not readily visible, you sometimes choose to reveal yourself. Your creation, which is real, you have entered and yet not entered. You are the cause of all causes. Managing to be both active and still, you appear for the welfare of the universe. You are so merciful that you give liberation to the demons, and you increase your servants' pure love for you. Victory unto you, O ecstasy for the eyes of Devaki. Your frightened mother offered you prayers. You are beyond the modes of nature, and yet you are the lamp who lights the consciousness of the living entities. It is you who finally dissolve this world, having sent forth the potency of time. O killer of death for those who take shelter at your feet, and mere eyes of flesh can never see you. At the request of your mother, who feared public ridicule, you covered your appearance as the supreme Godhead. You described to your parents their previous births. Compelled by the boons you had given them and fully satisfied by their excellent worship, for 3 births you became their sons. Your mother and father felt great ecstasy, and then for your pastimes you became like a human baby, O supreme absolute truth in human form, perfect in your appearance, O beautiful Lord. You then told your father what to do. Now that the illusory energy Maya had been born of Mother Yashoda, the doorkeepers and everyone else in the fortress fell asleep. Even the prison guards lost consciousness. By your potency, all the doors opened wide, and as your father carried you, the hoods of the serpent Anantashesh served as your umbrella, and the Yamuna gave you a suitable path. O personified good fortune of Vraja, you were laid to sleep on Yashoda's bed, and Nanda, Yashoda, and the others, oblivious in deep slumber, knew nothing of what you had done. I offer my homage unto you, who made Kamsa try to kill Durga, and who then astonished him by having her tell him all about your birth. You then made him release your father and mother from bondage. You gave good judgment to Kamsa, whose heart was cleansed by fear when he recognized the evil of his acts. You then gave your father and mother the forbearance to congratulate him for his spiritual realization. Through the devious words of all Kamsa's bad advisers, you again stirred up his evil intentions, and by his ill-advised abuse of faultless persons, you cut short the length of his demoniac life. Now that you had put your lotus feet in Vraja, the most suitable place, you vowed to give those who reside there your wholehearted affection, awarding them your company, a reservoir of pure love, performer of sportive pastimes, festival of joy for your servants, joy greater than the happiness of Brahman, I bow down to you. O source of all good fortune in blessed Gokula, O darling son of Nanda, at the grand festival of your birth ceremony, you moved your father to give heaps of gifts in charity. During this celebration, the cowherds and their women festively decorated themselves. The women offered you blessings with happiness and love and smeared you with the milk products of Vraja. O bliss of the people of Nanda's Vraja! Although through Nanda Maharaj, you properly worshipped the Vrajavasis, bestowing on Vraja the gift of the greatest opulence as you drank from the breast of Sri Yashoda. Your father Nanda was always anxious over how to protect this rare jewel of a son he had obtained. Yet when Nanda went to Mathura to pay taxes, you saw to protecting his household. Nanda, because of you, was delighted by the virtuous questions of Vasudeva, whom you greatly delighted through Nanda's perfect replies. Please be satisfied with me. That's Sri Krishna Lila Stava by Sanatana Goswami. And now we'll read in more detail the description of Krishna's celebration of Krishna's birth. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, and the chapter is number 5. Entitled The Meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, Nanda Maharaj was naturally very magnanimous, and when Lord Sri Krishna appeared as his son, he was overwhelmed by jubilation. Therefore, after bathing and purifying himself by dressing himself properly, he invited Brahmanas who knew how to recite Vedic mantras. After having these qualified Brahmanas recite auspicious Vedic hymns, he arranged to have the Vedic birth ceremony celebrated for his newborn child, according to the rules and regulations. He also arranged for worship of the demigods and forefathers. Nanda Maharaj gave 2 million cows, completely decorated with cloth and jewels, in charity to the Brahmanas. He also gave them 7 hills of grain, each. Covered with jewels and with cloth decorated with golden embroidery. This is the opulence of Vrindavan. Nanda. O king, by the passing of time, land and other material possessions are purified. Nice instructions, listen to this. By the passing of time, land and other material possessions are purified. By bathing, the body is purified. By being cleansed, unclean things are purified. By purificatory ceremonies, that is, samskar, birth is purified. By austerity, the senses are purified. And by worship and charity offered to the Brahmanas, material possessions are purified. By satisfaction, the mind is purified. And by self-realization, or Krishna consciousness, the soul is purified. There's a purport here. Srila Prabhupada writes, these are Shastric injunctions concerning how one can purify everything according to Vedic civilization. Unless purified, anything we use will infect us with contamination. In India, 5,000 years ago, even in the villages such as that of Nanda Maharaj, people knew how to purify things, and thus they enjoyed even material life without contamination. Which is to say that the material contamination for someone who follows these sorts of injunctions is minimal. Otherwise, it will be maximum. There's a nice verse in the 11th canto. I'll just make a side here. Note. Pungsam kalikritan doshan dravya deshatma sambhavan sarvan harati chittastho bhagavan purushottama. Lord Purushottama, within the heart, Bhagavan, he will purify us of all types of infections produced of Kali Yuga, if we are chanting and hearing his names sincerely. And it gives particularly 3 types of infections, kalikritan doshan, that are produced by naturally, produced by nature, by dint of being Kali Yuga. These things are produced. One of them is dravya sambhava, things that are contamination that is as a result of contacting impure things. Here Prabhupada is talking about how to purify impure things. In this modern society, even in India, it's no different. In fact, sometimes because I live there, I can say freely, I think it's even worse in India now than in America in certain ways. So just by contacting things that have not been purified, material possessions, material elements, we become contaminated. So that's called dravya sambhava dosha, according to the 11th canto. And then there's desha sambhava doshas. There are flaws that are produced from your faulty environment that we know. Here, I call them nishacharas. If you live on Gurley Avenue or anywhere in this neighborhood, you know. At any time in the middle of the night, you can hear, for example, last night I heard this sound, pat, pat. Isn't it? Or sometimes they drive by in their cars and you hear this. उसको निशाचर बोलते हैं शास्त्र में. You can call them nishacharas, night rovers. So this is called desha sambhava doshas. You become infected like that. This is sangha. Sangat sanjayate kama. Your desires, where do they come from? It comes from this. It comes from your sangha. Your dravya sangha, your desha sangha, and then finally there's atma sambhava doshas. What does that mean? That means the baggage you bring with you from the last time. We all have it. Whole portfolio we each have, bringing with us from the past lifetimes. And we have to deal with that also. Our own mind will work on us. But all of these can be purified by Krishna consciousness, which is what Srila Prabhupada means when he says the soul is purified by self-realization or Krishna consciousness. Because actually the soul is already pure. Really, there's no such thing as an impure soul, but we are covered. Covered means we are interested in the covering. So I'll go on now. The Brahmanas recited auspicious Vedic hymns which purified the environment by their vibration. Therefore we have Brahmanas. We have Vedic mantras. These things are important. Elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam also Srila Prabhupada comments that I think it was when Krishna killed the Trinavarta demon. Afterwards he was playing on her fallen body. No, who is it? Putana. And all the gopis came and they started touching his various limbs and saying different mantras. And there also, Prabhupada notes that the gopis knew these things. They were just village women, just Vaishya women, cowherd women, not Vedic scholars or anything, but they knew these things because they're important. The substrate of Krishna consciousness in the spiritual world, the foundational, social foundation of Krishna consciousness, even in the spiritual world, is this Vedic civilization. Or an ashram culture. So it's not just a part of our purification in this world, it's even a part of Krishna's leelas. So these things are important. So the experts in reciting old histories like the Puranas, the experts in reciting the histories of royal families, and general reciters all chanted, while singers sang and played many kinds of musical instruments like bheris and dundubis, played in accompaniment. Vrajapura, the residence of Nanda Maharaj, was fully decorated with varieties of festoons and flags, just like the altar. We have these banana leaves, auspicious things. Cows, you can see Gaurnitai has. A couple of new gopis have joined us today. We're very fortunate to have Lalita Vishakha. So this was going on. And in different places, gates were made with varieties of flower garlands, pieces of cloth, and we have that also, and mango leaves. This is especially in India. It used to be in every city. Now they're forgetting everything. They're following MTV culture. Star TV, I don't know what they call it nowadays. They're throwing everything out the window as fast as they possibly can in India now. But I remember when I first went to India and stayed there for some time, I could see, even in a mundane city like Cuttack, Orissa, they were doing this. The whole downtown area was completely covered with, just like our altar is right now, on Diwali. Mango leaves strung on a thread. We've all seen it, the little pointy ones. Banana leaves are auspicious. They also put those up. So we find these descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam. The courtyards, Torana means gate. They also erect, even still now they do that in India. They erect these gates. They're out of paper and wood frame. And they put up some signs there. So this is called Torana, gate. So the courtyards, the gates near the roads, and everything within the rooms of the houses were perfectly swept and washed with water. What kind of water? Rose water. I know in Nathdwara, where they have the deity of Govardhananathji, there they have, during the summer season, they have one festival. They're always having festivals. So it was very hot, and when I went there, the deity was dressed in nothing, only diamonds. Diamonds and coping. That's what he was wearing. And because it was hot, they have pipes running around the perimeter of the ceiling with small, small holes drilled in them, and they pipe rose water through, and the rose water comes out fine mist, and everyone feels relief, and scented also at the same time. This is Krishna consciousness. This is the proper utilization of intelligence. It's not that you have the latest plasma screen or whatever it is they're doing nowadays. That's also intelligence, but it's of a different sort. So, Srila Prabhupada writes here, he continues, the cows and the bulls and the calves were thoroughly smeared with a mixture of turmeric and oil, mixed with varieties of minerals. Sometimes we see that also in Vrindavan. They like to decorate the cows very nicely. Their heads were bedecked with peacock feathers, and they were garlanded and covered with cloth and golden ornaments. So we only have 2 cows here today, next to Gaur Nitai. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's a nice quote. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, the reason I took birth as a Brahmin this time is because in my last life I was serving the cows very faithfully. Therefore, he's got cows today, because he's in the mood of Gopal. Gaura Gopal, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. So the cows, bulls, and calves were thoroughly smeared with a mixture of turmeric and oil, mixed with varieties of minerals. Their heads were bedecked with peacock feathers, and they were garlanded, and covered with cloth and golden ornaments. Golden ornaments on cows. Nowadays, even if human beings wear golden ornaments, they're going to be robbed. Definitely. You know, this happens even on the way from the Delhi Mathura road. Even ISKCON devotees sometimes end up in a ditch. It's true. People are so degraded now in India. They're learning everything so faithfully. They have the Shishya Bhav. So purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has instructed in Bhagavad Gita, Krishi go rakshavanijam vaishya karma swabhavajam, farming, cow protection, and trade, in that order, I should add, are the qualities of work for the Vaishyas. Farming, cow protection, then business. Bookmark that. Nanda Maharaj belonged to the Vaishya community, the agriculturalist community. How to protect the cows and how rich this community was are explained in these verses. We can hardly imagine that cows, bulls, and calves could be cared for so nicely and decorated so well with cloths and valuable golden ornaments. And how many were there? How many cows? 2 million. I think to each Brahmin he gave 2 million cows. It's inconceivable. How happy they were, Prabhupada writes. As described elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, during Maharaj Yudhishthira's time, the cows were so happy that they used to muddy the pasturing ground with milk. This is Indian civilization. Yet in the same place, India, Bharatavarsha, how much people are suffering by giving up the Vedic way of life and not understanding the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. How much? Drive south on Mathura Road from Vrindavan, and before you get out of Mathura, you will find McDonald's. O King Parikshit, the cowherd men dressed very opulently with valuable ornaments and garments such as coats and turbans. Kanchuka. Kanchuka means this, what we wear in Vrindavan, this bagalbandi. They tie it on two sides. That thing. So they were wearing that. And turbans. Decorated in this way and carrying various presentations in their hands, they approached the house of Nanda Maharaj. They all came. Purport. When we consider the past condition of the agriculturalist in the village, we can see how opulent he was, simply because of agricultural produce and protection of cows. There's a nice quote, and I believe it's in the 7th canto by Sri Prahlad Maharaj. He says, that civilization in which cows, Brahmins, and Vaishnavas are not taken care of very quickly goes to destruction. So how can we expect to get off the ground even if we're not really putting these things, prioritizing these things? Especially in America. We need to work on this. These are the instructions we find here in Prabhupada's books. At the present, however, agriculture having been neglected and cow protection given up, the agriculturalist is suffering pitiably and is dressed in a niggardly torn cloth. For this reason, they all want to come to the cities instead. This is the distinction between the India of history and the India of the present day. By the atrocious activities of Ugra Karma, how we are killing the opportunity of human civilization! Exclamation mark. Very strong purports here by Srila Prabhupada, who said that his purports are what? His emotional ecstasies, he said. You can see it sometimes, so I'll try to read some. Anyway, you'll see as we read. The Gopi wives of the cowherd men were very pleased to hear that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a son. And they began to decorate themselves very nicely with proper dresses, ornaments, black ointment for the eyes, and so on. Yesterday on the plane here, I saw there was an Indian family coming to Dallas. I don't see them here, so maybe they weren't coming here for Janmashtami. But I've noticed over the last, say, 20 years, in my experience, the Indians are they're hardly Indians anymore. You can't really tell that they're Indians. You really have to discern very keenly to understand that they're even from India. Used to be, koi dhoti wala nahi milega. It used to be that you would find the wife would be wearing sari and the kids would be wearing like these salwar kameez type of thing, you know. Husband, of course, would be wearing the Western dress. Nobody would wear a dhoti. That wasn't in my time, maybe a few generations ago. Still in Pune you can find it. Some places, Kolkata sometimes, there are a few of them left, but hardly. Then a generation later I saw that the mothers, the wives, they're wearing the salwar kameez, the children are wearing Western dress, and the men are still wearing the same thing. No saris have kind of faded out. Now you see that nobody wears anything. They're all just wearing the Western dress. Anybody who's met this Mahavishnu Goswami from Gujarat, Dwarka? One time I saw him in Houston. He's not afraid to speak his mind because he's elder. So he was pointing at one Indian couple, young family in Houston. He's saying, "Why are you having your children dressed like this? Why are they in these costumes?" And they gave a kind of a half-hearted answer that, "Maharaj, we have to blend in, this modern society." And Maharaj said, "What is blending? Blending means giving and taking. I only see you taking. What are you giving?" So it made me think of that, this description of how nicely they were dressed with proper dresses, ornaments, black ointment, kajal, that means for the eyes, and so on. Tilak. Nobody. Hardly, you don't find it anymore. Even in India. Last 10 years or so in India? They're just forgetting everything. Anyway, their lotus-like faces, extraordinarily beautiful, being decorated with saffron and newly grown kumkum. The wives of the cowherd men hurried to the house of Mother Yashoda with presentations in their hands. Because when we come to see someone, we always want to bring a gift. Because of natural beauty, Their wives had full hips and full breasts, which moved as they hurried along. Purport. Srila Prabhupada sees fit to describe, to comment on these verses. You would think these are just, simple descriptions we can get it done with, but Prabhupada is into this. So let's listen what his realization is. The cowherd men and women in the villages lived a very natural life, and the women developed natural feminine beauty, with full hips and breasts. Because women in modern civilization do not live naturally, their hips and breasts do not develop this natural fullness. Because of artificial living, women have lost their natural beauty, although they claim to be independent and advanced in material civilization. This description of the village women gives a clear example of the contrast between natural life and the artificial life of a condemned society. Why is it a condemned society? We've already described. Because if you don't take care of cows, Brahmins, and devotees, it's just a matter of time. Hridayananda Maharaj said, this America is running on fumes. The tank is empty. It's just continuing to run by the noxious fumes of the petrol. So it's like that. This is a condemned society. And we see, I know from personal experience, when I grew up and what it is now, it's a different country. Just like in India is a totally different country now than it was 30 years ago. Even America is changing like that. It's becoming so debased. Gradually, it's like you can't see your fingernails growing or watch your hair grow. But after some time you realize, wait a minute, something's going on here. It's gradual decadence, Kali Yuga. But it's definitely very profound. So, this description of the village women gives a clear example of the contrast between the natural life and the artificial life of a condemned society. Such as that of the Western countries, where topless, bottomless beauty may be easily purchased in clubs and shops for public advertisements. Not only in America now also, especially anybody been to Bangalore? Oh, take a trip to Bangalore. I call it Los Angeles. It looks like Melrose District of Los Angeles. I'm not kidding. The word Balibi indicates that the women were carrying gold coins, jeweled necklaces, nice clothes, newly grown grass, sandalwood pulp, flower garlands, and similar offerings on plates made of gold. Such offerings are called bali. Bali Bali Jao. Have anybody heard this? It's in so many bhajans. So the words Twaritam Jagmuhu indicate how happy the village were to understand that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a wonderful child known as Krishna. Twaritam Jagmuhu, Prabhupada doesn't translate here, but it means they're very eager to go. They were going quickly. Twaritam means quickly. They're moving very fast. They're just eager to get there. Just like when we're coming to Janmashtami, we want to get there in time. Like that. Gopyam sumrishtam manikundala nishkakanthyash chitrambara patishikhash jutarmalya varshaha nandalayam savalaya prajatir vrajejur vyalola kundala payodharakara shobhaha. In the ears of the gopis were brilliantly polished jeweled earrings, and from their necks hung metal lockets. Locket, I think he means this kavach that we wear. These little amulets. Their hands were decorated with bangles. Their dresses were of varied colors. And from their hair, flowers fell onto the street like showers. Thus, while going to the house of Maharaj Nanda, the gopis, their earrings, breasts, and garlands moving, were brilliantly beautiful. Purport. Again, Srila Prabhupada wants to talk about this. He says, the description of the gopis who were going to the house of Maharaj Nanda to welcome Krishna is especially significant. Prabhupada says, this is especially significant. The gopis were not ordinary women, but expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency as described in Brahma Samhita. Quote, He gives the two quotes. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavita bhista bhirtya evana jurupataya kalabhi goloka evana vasati akhilatma bhuto govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami and chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabhir abhipalayantam lakshmi sahasrashata sambhrama sevyamanam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Krishna is always worshipped by the gopis, wherever he goes. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said when he installed the deity in Paris, Sri Sri Radha Parisishwara, he called him, he said, Krishna has come here to get some French gopis. They're already there, waiting for him. So here he says also, Krishna is always worshipped by the gopis wherever he goes. He brings them with him. Some of them are drop-ins. Some of them are being introduced first time in this life. Some of them are drop-ins. You understand what is a drop-in? Somebody sent from Vaikuntha. It's like you have a walk-in also, right? That's a different mode of nature. But these are drop-ins. Therefore, Krishna is so vividly described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also described Krishna in this way. Ramya kachir upasana vrajavadhu vargena ya kalpita. All these gopis were going to offer Krishna their presentations because the gopis are eternal associates of the Lord. Now the gopis were more jubilant because of the news of Krishna's appearance in Vrindavan. He's actually here now. They're so excited. Tvaritam jagmuhu. Therefore they're going quickly. Next text. Offering blessings to the newborn child, Krishna, the wives and daughters of the cowherd men said, May you become king of Vraja and long maintain its inhabitants. They sprinkled a mixture of turmeric powder, oil, and water upon the birthless Supreme Lord and offered their prayers. Like we were saying this morning, there's one bhajan. Rani Tero Chiranjiva Gopal. May your Gopal live a long time. Very famous in Brajabhasha. Now that the all-pervading, unlimited Lord Krishna, the master of the cosmic manifestation, had arrived within the estate of Maharaj Nanda, various types of musical instruments resounded to celebrate the great festival. Purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata avyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijami aham. Wherever and whenever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, because they have to go together, if one goes down, the other one goes up. That is the absolute truth. If dharma goes up, adharma goes down. If adharma goes up, dharma goes down. This is what it is. So Krishna comes to, whenever that happens, at that time, he says, I descend myself, end quote. Whenever Krishna comes, once in a day of Brahma, he comes to the house of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. Krishna is the master of all creation, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Therefore, not only in the neighborhood of Nanda Maharaj's estate, but all over the universe, and in all other universes, musical sounds celebrated the auspicious arrival of the Lord. Just like now, today is Janmashtami, so we're celebrating with so many musical instruments and singing kirtan. And this is not even the universe in which Krishna is currently manifesting. He's in some other place, but still the musical, it's everywhere. This is what he's saying. In gladness, the cowherd men enjoyed the great festival by splashing one another's bodies with a mixture of curd, condensed milk, butter, and water. They threw butter on one another and smeared it on one another's bodies. Because butter means ecstasy. It's better with butter. You ever see that? They have something like that. Purport. From this statement, we can understand that 5,000 years ago, not only was there enough milk, butter, and curd to eat, drink, and cook with, but when there was a festival, it would be thrown about without restriction. Vivo! Sri Krishna Janmastami ki! There was no limit to how extensively milk, butter, and curd, and other such products were used in human society. Everyone had an ample stock of milk, and by using it in many varied milk preparations, people would keep good health in natural ways and thus enjoy life in Krishna consciousness. Brajadham ki jai. The great-minded Maharaj Nanda gave clothing, ornaments, and cows in charity to the cowherd men. See, he'd already given 2 million cows, 7 hills of grains to each and every one of the brahmanas. Now he's doing likewise for the Vaishyas even. He's giving to the cowherd men in order to please Lord Vishnu. They are worshippers of Vishnu. In the spiritual world, although their love is for Krishna, their puja is restricted to Vishnu. They only worship Lakshmi Narayan. They're unaware that Krishna is the same person. This is the magic of Goloka Vrindavan, or even Gokula Vrindavan. Their Aishwarya, Gyan, their knowledge of the Lord's opulence and lordliness, it's obscured by the sweetness of their loving reciprocations and intimate pastimes with Him. So therefore, in order to please, he's thinking that this is my duty, this is my dharma to please Lord Vishnu. As I said, the social foundation, the social basis of the Leela is this pious activity, karma kandya activity. And similarly, the basis of their devotion to God is Lakshmi Narayana. So thus he improved the condition of his own son in all respects. He distributed charity to the Suttas, the Magadhas, the Vandis, and men of all other professions according to their educational qualifications, and satisfied everyone's desires. Suttas, these are professional reciters that we've already mentioned. The Magadhas are the reciters of, there's a word for this in Latin, and I don't remember what it is. Panegyrics. They glorify kings. And then the Vandis are people who are generally, if you want something to be put into verse, you go and contact some Vandi and he'll put it into verse for you, and then you can have an account. Just like once I was invited to go to a Rajasthani wedding, and this is a very cultured family, conservative family, and so they versified the entire thing in Brij Bhasha. Not Brij Bhasha, but in old Rajasthani. Still, to some degree, we can see that this thing is going on. So he distributed charity to the Suttas, Magadhas, and Vandis, and men of all other professions according to their educational qualifications, and satisfied everyone's desires. Purport. Although it has become fashionable to speak of Daridra Narayana, the words Vishnur Aradhanarthaya do not mean that all the people satisfied by Nanda Maharaj in this great ceremony were Vishnus. They were not Daridra, nor were they Narayana. They were instead devotees of Narayana. And by their educational qualifications, they would satisfy Narayana. Therefore, satisfying them was an indirect way of satisfying Lord Vishnu. Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika, in Bhagavatam 11:19-21, the Lord says, quote, worshipping my devotees is better than worshipping me directly, end quote. The Varnashram system is entirely meant for Vishnu Aradhana, worship of Lord Vishnu. Varnashramacharvata Purushena Parapuman Vishnur Aradhyate, and this is from Vishnu Purana 3.8.9. The ultimate goal of life is to please Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. The uncivilized man or materialistic person, however, does not know this aim of life. Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. One's real self-interest lies in satisfying Lord Vishnu. Not satisfying Lord Vishnu, but instead attempting to become happy through material adjustments, bahir artha manina, is the wrong way for happiness. There's a couple of things here that I can say before finishing this purport. Number one, this verse, Varnashrama Charavata, we've heard it many times. Srila Prabhupada quotes it quite often. The context is significant also. In that section of the Vishnu Purana, Maharaj Sagar Maharaj, approaches Aurava Muni, and he asks him, Maharaj, please tell me, what is the means by which an ordinary person in this world can come to develop pure devotional service? his explicit interest, the context here is ordinary people like ourselves who are interested in developing pure bhakti. So he asks him that question. And Ardha Muni, by way of answering, he cited this verse and many others. It goes on for many, many chapters, delineation of the Varnashram Dharma. So the verse means that Lord Vishnu is worshipped, the supreme worship of Lord Vishnu is done through Varnashram Dharma, and there's no other way to please him. Nanyat tat tosha karanam. For an ordinary man, there is no other way to please him. I was having a discussion with a god sister a few days ago. She, like me, she has been taking care of her elderly mother. So she was calling for some moral support because it's very difficult to take care of a person who is elderly and almost close to death. It's a very, very difficult task. So I was giving whatever I have learned from acharyas and their commentaries, particularly from chapters 3 through 5 of Bhagavad Gita. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladevi Dabhushana, they take great pains to indicate that if we want to actually stick with pure devotional service, we have to perform these mundane duties very attentively and very responsively according to the direction of the Shastra. Yashastra vidhim utsrajya varsate kama karata, Krishna says, nasa siddhim avapnoti, nasukham, na paramgatim. He doesn't, if a person whimsically gives up what the Shastra enjoins for him to do, then that person does not get the supreme destination. He doesn't even become happy in this world. So, the mind is purified through performance of the austerity that is inherent in all dharmic activity. All the activities that are enjoined upon us in terms of swadharmas or karmas in the Shastra, they have this nature of putting us through a little bit of pain to purify us. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that it is very important to undergo that pain. Just like when we have children, it's very difficult to raise children. Very, very difficult. Very, the Matajis are in agreement. Very difficult, very challenging in many ways. And as I said, also taking care of old people. All of our dharmas that we have to do, they're difficult to do that. But for that very reason, they purify us. Remember what we read a minute ago? How are the senses purified? Austerity. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, you will not be able to properly accommodate and process what you hear from a pure devotee until your mind has first become purified by these activities. So it's very, very important. And I think for that reason, Srila Prabhupada said, it is the remaining 50% of my mission. On his deathbed, he said that. One sociologist, Burke Roquefort, did a survey of ISKCON, and he looked at Srila Prabhupada's instructions, and he found that Srila Prabhupada gave 80% of the instructions he gave on Varnashram within the last 3 years that he was with us. Because he saw that we also had difficulty sticking with his process. He saw that even those who had taken vows were not able to keep those vows. Husbands and wives were not able to do it, not able to, take care and maintain their obligations. Sannyasis falling down, so many things. So these instructions, they're actually for us. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrata. Krishna says, the person who can worship me very staunchly is that person who has already eradicated his past sinful activities in this life and in previous lives, and he's freed from the illusions that those kinds of activities generally produce. Because when we engage in an impious activity, it produces a stain on your consciousness. Your psychology is marred from that point on, and it's not easy to change that. It takes years. Just like psychologists know that if a child is abused early in life, it takes maybe decades to get over that. So similarly, if we engage in pungent sinful activities, it leaves a stain on our consciousness. That is also called samskara. bad samskar, or dosha we can say, atma dosha. This is what we were referring to before. Baggage. So it's very important. So Srila Prabhupada is therefore, in this and other purports, he's stressing on this important point, that we have to satisfy Vishnu, and that Nanda Maharaj is giving this example for us to follow. He is concerned with satisfying Vishnu, not necessarily directly through devotional service, pure devotional service, although he obviously is the most pure devotee, but he's also living according to these standards of Shastra. So that's one thing. And then another thing is this. I'll keep reading. One's real self-interest lies in satisfying Lord Vishnu. Because Vishnu is the root of everything, if Vishnu becomes pleased, everyone is pleased. In particular, one's children and family members become happy in all respects. Nanda Maharaj wanted to see his newborn child happy. That was his purpose. Therefore, he wanted to satisfy Lord Vishnu. And to satisfy Lord Vishnu, it was necessary to satisfy his devotees, such as the learned Brahmanas, Magadhas, and Suttas. Thus, in a roundabout way, ultimately it was Lord Vishnu who was to be satisfied. And this is the difference between ordinary Varnashram and Daivi Varnashram. Daivi Varnashram is concerned with pleasing Lord Vishnu, and ordinary karma kandya activity that entangled us is concerned with getting fruits. That's the difference. So as I said earlier, the acharyas, they make it very clear that we have to do this as a preliminary aid to developing the pure devotional service that we seek. And it becomes easier the more we adopt these things. It becomes easier. So we go on. Now, the most fortunate Rohini, the mother of Baladeva, was honored by Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda, and thus she also dressed gorgeously and decorated herself with a necklace, a garland, and other ornaments. She was busy wandering here and there to receive the women who were guests at the festival. Just like I saw this morning, Manjuali's running around making so many arrangements. It is a 5,000 years old process, still going on. Purport, Rohini, another wife of Vasudeva, was also kept under the care of Maharaj Nanda and her son, with her son Baladev. Because her husband was imprisoned by Kamsa, she was not very happy. But on the occasion of Krishna Janmastami, Nandotsava, when Nanda Maharaj gave dresses and ornaments to others, he also gave gorgeous garments and ornaments to Rohini so that she could take part in the festival. Thus, she was also busy receiving the women who were guests. Because of her good fortune in being able to raise Krishna and Balaram together, she is described as Mahabhaga, greatly fortunate. Next verse. O Maharaj Parikshit, in the home of Nanda Maharaj is eternally the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his transcendental qualities, and is therefore always naturally endowed with the opulence of all wealth. Yet, beginning from Lord Krishna's appearance there, it became the place for the pastimes of the goddess of fortune. Purport. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lakshmi Sahasrashata Sambhrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The abode of Lord Krishna is always served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Now, here's the thing. Prabhupada just quoted this very line maybe 2 or 3 verses ago. And here he is quoting it again in full, in Sanskrit. Why? Anyone have any ideas about this? What is the need to so much repetition? It's the same exact thing that he quoted verbatim just a few verses ago. He's saying it again. So that we remember, for one thing. 2, we can see what's important and what isn't important. Like when the teacher writes something on the board, then you know it's going to be on the test. So the more things we see in Prabhupada's books, the more it's repeated. We know this is an important thing. 3, it's auspicious to vibrate this Krishna Katha always. The more, the better. The Prabhupada's books are so wonderful. So the abode of Krishna is always served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Wherever Krishna goes, the goddess of fortune naturally resides with him. The chief of the goddesses of fortune is Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Krishna's appearance in the land of Vraja indicated that the chief goddess of fortune, Radharani, would also appear there very soon. Nanda Maharaj's abode was already opulent, and since Krishna had appeared, it would be opulent in all respects. Now, in his commentary on the first verse of Krishna Karanamritam, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes the name Jayashri. Who is Jayashri? Srimati Radharani. Why? Because she conquers Shri. She conquers even Lakshmi. Jayashri. So there's Shri, that's Lakshmi, and there's Jayashri. That's Srimati Radharani. She's the origin of Lakshmi. Just as Krishna is the origin of Vishnu, Srimati Radharani is the origin of all these Lakshmi expansions, including Lakshmi herself, including Sita Devi, all the Lord's consorts. This is the wonder of it. Shukdev Goswami continued, thereafter, my dear King Parikshit, O best protector of the Kuru dynasty, Nanda Maharaj appointed the local cowherd men to protect Gokula and then went to Mathura to pay the yearly taxes to King Kamsa. Purport, because the killing of babies was going on and had already become known, Nanda Maharaj was very much afraid for his newborn child. Thus he appointed the local cowherd men to protect his home and child. He wanted to go immediately to Mathura to pay the taxes due and also to offer some presentation for the sake of his newborn son. For the protection of the child, he had worshipped various demigods and forefathers and given charity to everyone's satisfaction. Similarly, Nanda Maharaj wanted not only to pay Kamsa for yearly taxes, but also to offer some presentation so that Kamsa too would be satisfied. His only concern was how to protect his transcendental child, Krishna. I'll repeat that. His only concern was how to protect his transcendental child, Krishna. See, Nanda Maharaj, he'd given in charity to the Brahmins, he'd given in charity even to the Vaishyas. Now he went to give in charity not only to the Kshatriyas, but even to the demons. So much was his interest. This is devotional service, pure devotional service. The extent to which a pure devotee will go to satisfy Krishna. Nanda Maharaj is doing this. When Vasudeva heard that Nanda Maharaj, his very dear friend and brother, had come to Mathura and already paid the taxes to Kamsa, he went to Nanda Maharaj's residence. Purport, Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj were so intimately connected that they lived like brothers. Furthermore, it is learned from the notes of Sripad Madhvacharya that Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj were stepbrothers. Vasudeva's father, Shudasen, married a Vaishya girl, and from her, Nanda Maharaj was born. Later, Nanda Maharaj himself married a Vaishya girl, Yashoda. Therefore, his family is celebrated as a Vaishya family, and Krishna, identifying himself as their son, took charge of Vaishya activities, Krishi Gorakshilanijyam. Balaram represents the plowing of the land for agriculture, and therefore always carries in his hand a plow, whereas Krishna tends cows, and therefore carries in his hand a flute. Thus, the two brothers represent Krishi Rakshya and Gorakshya. Balaram is for Krishi, that's agriculture, and Krishna is for cow protection. Shri Krishna Balaram ki. When Nanda Maharaj heard that Vasudeva had come, he was overwhelmed with love and affection. When our godbrother comes, do we become overwhelmed with love and affection? Raghunath Das Goswami says, if you do not become jubilant upon seeing a Vaishnava, then you're possessed of a hellish mentality. This is the example we have. This is what we are emulating. Vrajajananugami, Rupa Goswami says. We want to follow these people. When Nanda Maharaj heard that, he became overwhelmed with affection, as if his body had regained its life. Seeing Vasudeva suddenly present, he got up and embraced him with both arms. Purport: Nanda Maharaj was older than Vasudeva. Therefore, Nanda Maharaj embraced him, and Vasudeva offered him namaskar. This is the etiquette. O Parikshit Maharaj, having thus been received and welcomed by Nanda Maharaj with honor, Vasudeva sat down very peacefully and inquired about his own two sons because of intense love for them. See, this is the thing. Who is it? Vedanta Deshika, was it? One of the Sri Vaishnavas. He wrote this prayer in the voice of Devaki, glorifying Krishna. You have to consider, we have to empathize with Vasudeva and Devaki. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and more thousands of years they had executed tapasya in order to get the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son. And as soon as that happened, he went away. And he didn't come back until he was no longer a child. So just imagine their pain. So he wrote, Vedanta Deshik was empathetic to that degree. He was thinking about Devaki. Nobody thinks about Devaki, isn't it? We focus on Braj. But he was thinking like that. So he wrote very pitiful prayers in the voice of Devaki, glorifying Krishna, and how much she was missing his pastimes. So similarly, here we see that Vasudeva was also very concerned about his sons. So out of intense love for them, he was inquiring, are they okay? Now, you have to consider that Nanda Maharaj, he was so enthusiastic about protecting Krishna also. You see the measures, the extraordinary measures that he's taking to ensure the welfare of his son Krishna, because he could not have a son for many years. Nanda Maharaj is described, he's got a little bit graying hair, and he's older. He's not young so much anymore before he got his son Krishna. So he was very, very attached. So similarly, Vasudeva also. So Vasudeva approached Nanda Maharaj and he said, My dear brother Nanda Maharaj, at an advanced age you had no son at all and were hopeless of having one. Therefore, that you now have a son is a sign of great fortune. Purport. At an advanced age, one generally cannot beget a male child. If by chance one does beget a child at this age, the child is generally female. Thus, Vasudeva indirectly asked Nanda Maharaj whether he had actually begotten a male child or a female child. Vasudeva knew that Yashoda had given birth to a female child whom he had stolen and replaced with a male child. This was a great mystery, and Vasudeva wanted to determine whether this mystery was already known to Nanda Maharaj. He wanted to understand, have I been detected? Has it been detected what I did? On inquiring, however, he was confident that the mystery of Krishna's birth and his being placed in the care of Yashoda was still hidden. There was no danger, since Kamsa at least could not learn what had already happened. This was his concern. He was concerned like this. Nanda Maharaj, his chief concern was Kamsa should not find out that there is this boy here. For this reason, he was even worshipping so many demigods and executing austerities and just calculating, giving charity, so many things. He was fully absorbed in anxiety for Krishna. So, it is also by good fortune that I am seeing you. This is Vasudeva speaking. Having obtained this opportunity, I feel as if I've taken birth again. Even though one is present in this world, to meet with intimate friends and dear relatives in this material world is extremely difficult. Purport. Vasudeva had been imprisoned by Kamsa. Not only did they lose their son Krishna as soon as he was born, but they were in jail also. Therefore, although present in Mathura, he was unable to see Nanda Maharaj for many years. Therefore, when they met again, Vasudeva considered this meeting to be another birth. And he goes on, he says, many planks and sticks, unable to stay together, are carried away by the force of a river's waves. Similarly, although we are intimately related with friends and family members, we are unable to stay together because of our varied past deeds and the waves of time. This is an interesting thing. We cannot have anything. It's not the same. It doesn't stay. Whatever it is you're attached to, think about your greatest material attachment right now. Think about it. What is it? You know. You don't have to tell us. You know what it is. It's not going to stay. It's maybe a matter of time before you lose it, but you will definitely lose it, Zurur. Everything will be gone. And once it's gone, what is the significance? Then it's like a dream. We have our dreams at night, and we have our dream that lasts for a lifetime. But what is the difference? One poet wrote, "Jo beet gaye so baat gayi." What's gone is gone. But once it's gone, all you have is the memory, and that memory also dissolves. So where is it? What is the substance here? There is no substance here. Therefore we call it Maya, illusion. There's really no substance. It's real. Dallas exists. This world, the elements, you can feel them. They're here. But it's not what we think it is. And it will not last. There's one nice Braj poet, Surdas. So he wrote a nice pada. He says that just like this parrot in Vrindavan, you see so many green parrots, right? So he sees a cotton fruit. The cotton, there's a flower, and then it turns into like a shiny green, looks like a plump, sweet fruit. So, Vishayarasa Chakyo, his mind becomes attached to the idea of enjoying the sweet nectar inside of that fruit. So he starts pecking at it. But the cotton fruit, it's not a soft, sweet fruit. It has a very hard shell. But he's got the mental conception already in his mind, he's attached, that inside there's going to be this sweet, like a sitafal or something, very nice mango. He's thinking he's going to get some real nectar here. So he's pecking and pecking at this thing, and it's so hard that it's breaking his beak. But still he wants to get in there, and he's still pecking at it, and finally, when he finally breaks it open, he sees there's cotton inside. Oh, what is this cotton? So he starts pulling out the cotton, and cotton, and finally he's surrounded by a mountain of cotton, and the thing is empty, and he's sitting here, and I've got this broken thing, and there's cotton, and what am I to do now? He says, so our life is just like that. There's no happiness in this world. There's no substance here. Whatever you're attached to, you're going to lose it. If you ever get it to begin with, that's another thing. And you end up with a broken beak, right? Can't do anything. As Shankaracharya says, what is that? Yavad vitto parjana sakta. As long as you're able to produce wealth, tavan nija parivaro rakta. That long your own family members will be attached to you. Paschad, later on, Paschad jivati jar jara dehe, when you're trying to exist in this decrepit, broken old body, right? Vartam prachati kopi na gehe. Even in your own house, nobody's going to ask how you're doing. They don't care. You're washed old horse. What is the love here? There's nothing here. No love, no sense gratification. You can't hold on to any of it. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, this is Maya's big joke. Yeah, Prabhupada says, the Durga Devi. We see Durga Devi, she's riding on a tiger, and she's got the Trishula, right? The trident. What does that stand for? Adibhautik Klesh, Adhyatmik Klesh, Adhidaivik Klesh. 3 kinds of misery. She's always poking on us. Oh, we're trying to run away. We can't. Cannot get out of it. Oh, so difficult. But Krishna says, very encouragingly in chapter 18, Mat chitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi. If you fix your mind on me, despite all this durga. Durga means difficulty. Not difficulty, but hard to go where you want to go. Isn't it? Durga means you can't go there. Or you can't get out. Durga also means fort. You can't get out. Either way. Either you can't go to where you want to be, or you can't get out from where you are. These are the two options in material life. So Krishna says, Sarva Durgani, all these difficulties, Mat Chitta Sarva Durgani, Mat Prasadat, if you have my mercy, Tarashyati, you will cross over them. You will cross over them. Atachet Twamahankarat, but instead, if you act out of false ego, Narshosyasi, and if you don't listen to what I'm saying, Vinangshyasi, everything will be finished. Stern warning from Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So, this is, Vasudeva is also saying, he's pointing out that it's so difficult here. Just like sticks and things floating in a river, they come together for some time and then they're separated. You can't do anything about it. So, this is the waves of time. Vasudeva was lamenting that because he and Nanda Maharaj could not live together, he warns that all of us, even if intimately related, are carried away by the waves of time according to the results of our karma. What is the time and how long shall I go on? Am I okay? Yeah, so can I keep reading then? I like this. My friend Nanda Maharaj, in the place where you are living with your friends, is the forest favorable for the animals, the cows? I hope there's no disease or inconvenience. The place must be full of water, grass, and other plants. These are the things he's concerned. My son Baladev, being raised by you and your wife Yashoda Devi, considers you his father and mother. Is he living very peacefully in your home with his real mother, Rohini? See, Rohini was fortunate. She was able to live with them, so she got to see all of Krishna and Balaram's Bal Leelas. Poor Vasudeva didn't get to see it. And Devaki also didn't get to see it. Rohini we find in, just like Bhakti Vinod Thakur, right? What is that? Bhajabhakata Vatsala Shri Gaurahari. Bela holo Damodara Aishai Khan. Please come here, Damodar. It's time now. Time for what? Bhoga Mandiri Bhoshi Karaha Bhojan. Sit down in the Bhoga Mandir and take your Bhojan. Take your Raj Bhoga. This is Rohini. Rohini calls them. Because when Yashoda calls them, they don't listen. So Rohini has to call. She's a little more forceful. They are too attached to their play. When they're playing, they don't want to come in. And she has to, Yashoda calls them several times, and still they don't listen. It's the nature. This is the selfless nature of parental affection, Vatsalya. There's no reward. You put so much effort into it, and then they leave you, and yeah, I'll call you, and then they never do. But if they're good, then they'll take care of you when you're old. Because that's another thing. Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava, Taittiriya Upanishad says, you have to consider your mother like God. Just like we consider Acharya Devo Bhavati. Same thing. In the same context. What is it? Atiti Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava. All these personalities have to be respected. So Krishna says, afterwards, after he was so long in Vrindavan and then went away to Mathura and killed Kamsa finally, after Kamsa was dead, then he saw his mother and father, real mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki. They were there and they were just stunned. They were astonished to see what Krishna, their boy, had just done. They couldn't believe it. And Krishna and Balaram, they came and bowed at their parents' feet, and they also were stunned. Not for a different reason. They were stunned from what? Bhakti, love. They were unable to speak. How can they speak in that circumstance? How can they say anything? They didn't know what to say. So both of them are stunned, and they just, what can they say? Finally, Krishna told his parents that I've been away for so long, I feel you have to please forgive my offenses. And then he adds a very important verse. He says, a son who is able to take care of his elderly parents, kalpa, he's able. But if he doesn't do it, that person, Krishna says, has to eat his own flesh in hell. Very strong statement. Keeps me going. Sometimes you need a little bit baser motivation. No, the principle is that this was what Krishna wants. Krishna wants this. So again, these things are very important. They're not to be neglected. So, when one's friends and relatives are properly situated, one's religion, economic development, and sense gratification, as described in the Vedic literatures, are beneficial. Otherwise, if one's friends and relatives are in distress, these three cannot offer any happiness. Very nice point, isn't it? You can have your dharma, you can have your artha, you can have your kama. That is to say, your duty or religiosity, piety, your money, your, what's the word? Artha, another word. What should I say? No, I'm thinking in English. Facilities, maybe, facilities is a nice general translation, artha. What you want. And then finally, kama, that means the fulfillment of your desires. You cannot have these if your friends and relatives are not happy with you, isn't it? Only a very low person can enjoy, in light of others' dissatisfaction. So Nanda Maharaj said, "Alas, King Kamsa killed so many of your children, born of Devaki, and your one daughter, the youngest child of all, entered the heavenly planets." Purport. When Vasudeva understood from Nanda Maharaj that the mystery of Krishna's birth and his having been exchanged with Yashoda's daughter was yet undisclosed, he was happy that things were going on nicely. By saying that Vasudeva's daughter, his younger child, had gone to the heavenly planets, Nanda Maharaj indicated that he did not know that this daughter was born of Yashoda, and that Vasudeva had exchanged her with Krishna. Thus the doubts of Vasudeva were dispelled. Everybody follow what's happening here? Nanda didn't know that Vasudeva had actually switched out Subhadra, or Yogamaya, with Krishna. Krishna came from Mathura, and Subhadra came from Braj. Now there's an esoteric truth here that is not revealed so much. Maybe Srila Prabhupada says it at some point here. Let's finish the chapter first. Every man is certainly controlled by destiny, which determines the results of one's fruitive activities. In other words, one has a son or daughter because of unseen destiny. What is unseen destiny? This is a philosophical buzzword, jargon. Adrishta. It's called in Karma Mimamsaka philosophy and also in Sankhya philosophy. Adrishta, the thing which you don't see. There is something organizing our lives. We don't know what it is. We don't see it, but there is something. It's clear that there's order. Like my mother always says to me, she's always marveling. I just can't understand why God gave me a second chance. So I tell her, I do. It's so you can hear Srimad Bhagavatam and take prasadam and go to the temple. Sometimes I take her there. So this is called a drishta, unseen destiny. Every man is certainly controlled by destiny, which determines the results of one's fruitive activities. In other words, one has a son or a daughter because of unseen destiny. And when the son or daughter is no longer present, this also is due to unseen destiny. Destiny is the ultimate controller of everyone. One who knows this is never bewildered. Therefore, we have the instructions. We just do our duty without considering the result. Because whether you do your duty or not, you're going to get the same result. But if you do your duty, you are protecting your own future and enabling yourself to take directly to Krishna consciousness. Whereas if you do not do your duty, your future is dark and you cannot take to Krishna consciousness. This is the idea. It's like soaking wood and then trying to light it on fire. It doesn't work. You have to dry it out. So there's a purport here. Nanda Maharaj consoled his younger brother Vasudeva by saying that destiny is ultimately responsible for everything. Vasudeva should not be unhappy that his many children had been killed by Kamsa, or that the last child, the daughter, had gone to the heavenly planets. So Vasudeva said to Nanda Maharaj, "Now, my dear brother, since you have paid the annual taxes to Kamsa and have also seen me, do not stay in this place for many days. It is better to return to Gokula, since I know that there may be some disturbances there." Very cryptic statement, and Srila Prabhupada, to heighten the drama, gives us no purport. He's so sharp. Prabhupada is so sharp. He's so sharp. Final verse. Shukadeva Goswami said, after Vasudeva advised Nanda Maharaj in this way, Nanda Maharaj and his associates, the cowherd men, took permission from Vasudeva, yoked their bulls to the bullock carts, and started riding for Gokula. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 10th canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva. Now there's a secret here, which is, it's actually here in this Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's a little bit oblique, esoterica, you can say. That according to Baladev Vidyabhushan Thakur, in his Aishwarya Kadambani, he describes that actually Krishna was also born of Yashoda in Braja at the same time that he was born in Mathura of Devaki. So when we say Krishna is Yashodanandan, it's also accurate. And when the Srimad Bhagavatam says, therefore, Jayati Jayati, what is that? Jayati Jananivaso Devaki Janmavado. Devaki Janmavada means that Krishna is said to be said to be born of Vasudeva. That means that he's actually born of Yashoda. They say he's Devaki's son, but actually he's Yashoda's son. Eternally, he's Yashoda's son. And surely he was born of Devaki also, but really we have to consider the Supreme Lord does not take birth. It is a transcendental, like they say in Christianity, virgin birth, right? Uncontaminated by karma, uncontaminated by, is not a physical, biological process by which the Supreme Personality of Godhead takes birth in this material world, although it appears that way. He is manifesting himself just as the moon seems to be born out of the ocean. If you're in Bengal or Jagannath Puri, not California, maybe Texas, if you're facing east, that is, and you see the moon rising over the ocean, it seems as if the moon is coming out of the ocean. So in the same way, it seems as if Krishna is taking birth from Devaki or from Yashoda, but in fact he is like the moon coming out of the ocean. We know the moon is actually far, far away. Another example is that when Krishna comes, it's like we have these screens with the pictures on them. So there used to be, well, we still have some windows there, but there used to be windows all along this wall. So if you see someone walking outside, first he's in one window, then you see him in the next window, then you see him in the third window, fourth window, adi, 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 depending on how many windows there are. So in that way, we see Krishna in his appearance in this world, first in one place, then in another place, then in a third place, then in another place, on and on and on. Nitya Lila. The appearance and disappearance is a question of our perspective only. It does not exist for Krishna. Therefore, Devaki Janmavada. It is said that he is born of Devaki, but in fact, he is not born. Therefore, he's called also Aja, unborn. Purusham tamaham vande. That Krishna is unborn. What is it? Purusham tamajam nityam. Vrajami Sharanam Harim. He's called Aja. So he's the son of Yashoda at the same time. And when Vasudeva brought Krishna from Mathura, crossed the Yamuna and came to Gokula, and exchanged the child, Krishna, with the daughter born of Yashoda, Krishna, who was already there in the womb of Yashoda, merged with Krishna that Vasudeva had brought and became one. That's how it works. This is the revelation we get from Baladev Vidyabhushan about Krishna's birth. But again, this is esoteric understanding. Okay? So, You have a question, Dharma?
Yeah, the Varnashram Dharma, where you were mentioning how Prabhupada's emphasizing it, and then, but in the context, how do we draw the line between following that and being overly attached to ritualistic ceremonies, or what's really just karma kanda? I mean, how do we know?
This is a good question. This is a very good question. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Chaitanya Shikshamrita elaborates at some length about the conflict which we sometimes see between pure devotional service and ordinary pious activity. Generally, a devotee by nature as well as inclination and intent, he wants to follow all the injunctions of the Shastra. He wants to lead a pious material existence. On rare occasions, it so happens that one has to override those principles in terms of developing pure devotional service. And in those circumstances, the ordinary injunctions of Shastra, I don't want to say can be rejected, but let's say they are overridden by the higher principles of devotional service. There's a very nice rule of thumb given in the Shastra, which says that smartavyam satatam vishnur vismartavnam na jatachit. One should always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Sarva vidhi nishedhasyur etayorivikhankara. All the injunctions of the Shastras and all the prohibitions of the Shastras, they are all to be considered as the servants of this essential principle. So whenever we have anything is enjoined in Shastra, there's always a positive and negative side. That's called vyapti, pervasion in logic. You want to cover all your bases. So the best way to do that is that always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. There's just no way to avoid the conclusion that you're going to be Krishna conscious if you say it both negatively and positively. So the important principle here is that one should do what is favorable for Krishna consciousness, for developing Krishna bhakti. In most cases, the injunctions of Shastra are favorable to Krishna bhakti. But if the spiritual master gives us an instruction otherwise, and it's understood that a bona fide spiritual master will not tell us to break Vedic injunctions unless he is acting on a higher principle which can be and will be explicated in Shastra, then we can override those considerations. But the key here is to be guided by a bona fide spiritual master. And the sadhus also, because we can't always be in the company of the spiritual master. So, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Vakya, Chitete, Korya, Aikya, Narottam Das Thakur says. These three things we have, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. They all have to be harmonious and say the same thing. And in the bhakti process, Savai Pungsam Paro Dharma Yato Bhakti Rahokshije Ahaituki Apratahata Yadatma Suprasidati. The bhakti process is whatever it takes to awaken that taste and attachment for bhakti to Lord Adhokshaja, which will be, and bhakti means pure bhakti, not mixed devotional service, because then it becomes very dangerous. The devotion that Bhagavatam says can override ordinary dharma is characterized as ahaituki and apratihata. If you never stop serving Krishna, ever, and if your service absolutely has no stain of personal motive for personal aggrandizement, then you can override the injunctions of Shastra. Otherwise, it becomes very dangerous. What do we call that? We call that Mishra Bhakti. And not Karma Mishra Bhakti. Karma Mishra Bhakti means you're doing your duty with attachment to those results. But more often than not, we have Vikarma Mishra Bhakti. So there's no such thing as Vikarma Yoga. There's only Karma Yoga. Vikarma Yoga just cannot exist. So we have to be very careful about that. If you do anything in this material world which is not enjoined in Shastra or is prohibited by Shastra, then that is Vikarma. And you cannot engage that in devotional service. Just like somebody may think, well, my husband, my wife, we just don't get along. It would be better for my devotional service to find someone new. No. That will put a stain on your consciousness that will prevent you from adopting devotional service in proper way. As we've discussed already, then it becomes Atma Sambhava dosha. And you will carry it with you into your next life, and you're going to have to work it out. So better just to avoid the thing. We were talking the other day about, astrology, when we become influenced in so many ways by so many different planets. Even one planet changes position, it can change your whole personality. I've seen it in devotees. Their whole personality changes just because they go into Ketu Mahadasha or something like that. So we have to be this is what it means to be a conditioned soul. It's very touchy business. By razor's edge, the Shruti mantra says. Razor's edge. So the answer to your question, the simple answer to your question is we want to avoid karma khandya attachment, which means that I'm doing my duty for the sake of the results. Instead, we do our duty. We still do our duty, but we're doing it not for the results, but we're doing it for Krishna. To please Krishna. Either directly or indirectly. Because Krishna is also indirectly pleased when a karmi performs his varnashram dharma. That pleases Krishna. That's the whole point of the Vishnu Purana passage that I was mentioning. It does please Krishna. Similarly, Prabhupada has explained very carefully here in the 10th canto that Nanda Maharaj was very careful about giving charity and doing so many things in a proper way in order to please Krishna, indirectly. But for those of us who want to directly please Krishna, it is also important because it is the means by which we develop the purity of mind with which we can do so. We will not be able to properly assimilate the bhakti process until the mind is purified enough. What happens until then? We hear an instruction, it's filtered through an infected mind, and it comes out as in the form of vikarma yoga, or karma mishra bhakti at best, or jnana mishra bhakti. So pure devotional service, it's a very simple thing, but it's not a very easy thing, and in many ways it's really not even that simple. It's a very subtle, complicated process, but it's easy to do if we are simply willful, if we're determined. And that's where mercy comes in. Once you have blessings on your head from Hari Guru Vaishnavas, then everything is possible, very easy. As we say, Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum lankhayate girim, yad kripa tamaham vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. By the grace and blessings of the spiritual master, even a dumb man can recite eloquent poetry. Even a blind man can see stars twinkling in the firmament at night. Even a lame man can leap over mountains like Hanuman. Anything else? Yes.
You mentioned about the three gurus. I heard about this about three gurus. So the guru who preach you about Krishna and he give you instruction about Krishna is the real guru. I mean, because you mentioned three gurus.
I don't remember mentioning three gurus. Guru Sadhu Shastra, yeah, these are three authorities.
If you met Srila Prabhupada sometime, and Srila Prabhupada was telling you, he started you to preach about Krishna. So what kind of guru is Srila Prabhupada for you?
Well, this is the thing. In my opinion, for what it's worth, you can judge for yourself. In my opinion, I think we overemphasize the distinction between the Shiksha Guru and the Diksha Guru. That distinction is not explicit in Srila Prabhupada's books, nor am I aware that Srila Prabhupada made very much of it in his personal instructions either. So, but he does say in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 1, right around verse 56 or 7, where he starts to talk about the Guru. Srila Prabhupada does say that generally the same person is your Diksha Guru and the same person is your Shiksha Guru. That's the general process. They're all three in one. Their identity is not different. All of them are equal manifestations of the Supreme Lord in the form of devotees. But they differ somewhat in their functions, but I think what needs to be said here is that they only differ in their functions when they are not the same personality. The ordinary convention, the usual convention, and the traditional convention is that they are the same person. That's something to consider. So, Vartma Pradarshaka Guru is the person who first brings you to Krishna consciousness. It's usually not that your Diksha Guru is that person, although I do know some devotees who have had that experience. Prabhupada directly made them a devotee. Or, Tamal Krishna Goswami. This one, what was his name? Brahma Samhita. Anybody know him in Houston? So he came to the temple. He got some books or something, and he was interested, and he found the nearest temple, and he came and knocked at the door late at night. And who answered the door? Tamal Krishna Goswami answered the door. And he sat down, true to his nature, and started preaching to him, and made him a devotee, right on the spot. So the Vartma Pradarshaka Guru, the Shiksha Guru, and the Diksha Guru, all one. That's the norm. Is that okay? So, but it's important to recognize that your Guru, whatever function, you're talking about of these three, he's only one of a second triumvirate, which is Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Because a Guru, he has nothing to say without the Shastra. Right? And unless there are sadhus backing him up in a line of disciplic succession, he's also questionable, dubious. So they all have to go together. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Vakya, Chitete, Koriya, Aikya. And whatever they say, which will be one thing, you make that one with your heart, he says. Narottam. Like we sing Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chitete, Koriya, Aikya, same thing. There's no difference. This is called Advaya Gyan. This is the oneness of Krishna consciousness. We have oneness and we have distinction. So it's very important to realize that oneness. Then we appreciate the distinctions. If we appreciate distinctions without realizing the oneness, we do not appreciate the distinctions appropriately. It's like people like to be Rasikas, Rasik Vaishnavas. Especially, I know, when you go to Vrindavan, there's so many of them at Radha Kund, and there's so many. This is the Babaji infection, Srila Prabhupada used to call it. He didn't like it at all. So, because they don't appreciate the oneness of the Lord's different forms, but they're trying to appreciate the distinction. They're trying to make the minute distinction between, say, Rukmini Dwarkatish in Los Angeles and Radha Shyam Sundar in Vrindavan. Unless we realize the oneness of those two deities, then we will become sahajias. We'll develop some artificial, some mental distinction and create offenses on that basis. And Prabhupada has written all this very clearly in his books, but people don't read the books. They read some other sannyasi's books instead. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, everything is in my books. And as we were discussing this morning, where is Rupa? He's taken off, I think. Everything is in Prabhupada's books. There you are, sorry. I've taken off. Everything is in Prabhupada's books. Everything you want is there. Especially in Srimad Bhagavatam alone. Everything is there. Kim va parayar Ishvara. Bhagavatam itself says, so what is the need of any other scripture? There's no need. It is, once you realize what does it mean, Nigama kalpataroho galitam phalam. Of the fruit of the Vedic literatures, this is the ripe, sweet mango. The thing that parrot is looking for, it's here, Baba. We're pecking away at this hard core of material existence and getting nothing but cotton and breaking our beaks on it. Hare, wake up. Srimad Bhagavatam is what we want. It's the taste for which we're always anxious. Shall we read more? I mean, I can go on all day. It's up to you. Of course, at some point, I still have to do puja. What time is it? So maybe I think duty calls me elsewhere. But if someone else wants to read, or... Okay, well, first of all, last of all, I guess, let me just thank you for the opportunity of coming here. I'm very fortunate, I feel very fortunate and honored, especially to be able to say something about Krishna, although my qualifications are too meager. I feel very fortunate to be blessed in this holy dham and see so many devotees I know, and to also see so many devotees I don't know. It's a great pleasure to be back in Radha Kalachandji dham. I was talking to Giriraj Swami last night and had the observation that just as we feel Srila Prabhupada's presence very strongly in New Dwarka when you go to Los Angeles, because Srila Prabhupada spent so much time and had so many pastimes there, I feel the same way about Dallas, in that this whole community is permeated by the presence and the memory of Tamal Krishna Goswami. And it's a great pleasure to be here, although it's also a little bit painful. I still have trouble going into his office because I have too many wonderful memories there. It's very, a little bit pain of separation is there, but anyway, it's very nice to see all the community is thriving and all the devotees are happy, and just wanted to thank you for inviting me and giving me your association. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.